The creator of Love Hina warns of SJWs infiltrating manga. Now, this is something we've already kind of knew was going to happen, and is actually already occurring in Localization, where they will take a anime like Kobayashi-Sanchi no Maid Dragon, for example, and they'll radically change the meaning of words and sentences. Like, there's one scene in which Quetzalcoatl, the big-titted dragon, says like, "Oh yeah, no, I hate the way the men look at my ginormous honkers," or something. Not what they said at all, but they're like, "Oh, misogyny." Actually, um, hold on there for Kyle. Make squeaking noises.
Look at those titties. Chad's like, damn, those are big titties.
Make squeaking noises. There we go. Here, Kyle.
I feel like I'm gonna get you fucking strikes for something for looking at this.
Yes. Don't worry, it's fine in the video, just not in the thumbnail. But yes, look at that picture right there, and you will see the exact thing. So, for those who are just listening, in the subs it says, Toru asks, "What's with that outfit?" And Quetzalcoatl, Quetzalcoatl, "Everyone was always saying something to me, so I tried toning down the exposure. How is it?" Basically, she's a big-titted dragon wearing a tank top, and so people were hitting on her. In the fun animation dub, Toru says, "What are you wearing that for?" And Quetzalcoatl says, "Oh, those pesky patriarchal societal demands were getting on my nerves, so I changed clothes." Shame.
Did they? These dubs are awful.
Shame.
Like, they're not even remotely accurate. Do they even know how to translate? Like, I have to ask.
Oh yeah, they probably know how to translate, but they don't want to. They want to have points, put in a little bit of a point there.
This is another example of people hijacking other people's work to insert their own political opinions into. Not uncommon. Pathetic, but it's deplorable.
And I want to point out a very key point here as well. The guy this was a talk that he held, and he was asked, like, "What do you think about political correctness?" Because they haven't been hit with the SJW wave yet. The Japanese are still on the PC culture thing. Oh, they have a lot of interesting things in store for them. He said, so far, when Japanese manga is at the stage of looking at the world, there's a pressure on the scene to meet more global standards. And I just want to point out, more global standards. This is the language that Amazon used. Like, "Oh yes, our TV series needs to appeal to a global audience." The Lord of the Rings has sold 150 million copies in 38 languages. I think it already appeals to a global audience. Manga, like Demon Slayer, has sold like 100 million copies as well, or for its volumes, not copies, but entire volumes. It's outsold one manga. Demon Slayer alone outsold the entirety of the Western comic market. They're already appealing to a global standard. People love it. They must be able to see that this is not a global standard. SJWs do not have a global standard. They are not the arbiters of what is correct and what people want. In fact, they are the anti-arbiters. Listen to them, and your shit gonna get less popular.
On top of that, what's ironic about them, they always preach about, like, imperialism bad, but here they are being cultural imperialists, trying to dictate their whims and their views on others.
Of course, he also repeats points that you should be allowed freedom of expression, and as you pointed out, Love Hina is a relatively old manga now. And as Kyle can point out from the artwork, it is a bit of a raunchy manga. Oh yes. It has some pantsus in it. It has some exposure. Now, I remember actually back in the day as well, people would look at this and go and would cross themselves like, "Oh dear Jesus, how can this immorality stand?" As the hardcore Christians whinging about this thing. The horseshoe is real, ladies and gentlemen. It's out there. It's looking at you right now, and it is laughing. It is laughing.
Yep. The thing is, Puritans have just changed colors. Before we had the super Catholic Christian, like, Puritans were like, it's immoral, blah, 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 blah. Video games are immoral. Now, it's the new Puritans, and their tactic is to hijack what we like by inserting themselves into it and then trying to subvert it. A bit more toxic than the Christian ones. Christian ones would just bitch and moan and cross themselves.
Thing. Like, the Christian Puritans were bad as well, but most of them, the overwhelming majority, were the Tolkien style of Christian Puritans who would have their faith. It was a personal thing, it was their thing. They would not bring it onto others. They might make the argument if asked to do so. They might say why it's right for them. They might even try to convince you if you're talking to them specifically on this subject, but they didn't try to change the laws. And when they did, it was almost universally unsuccessful. Think of Jack Thompson. He achieved nothing. And then you look at the modern day SJWs and realize, oh shit, they've done a lot, haven't they? I would far, far, far more have a moralist that whinges at me than the one that makes legislation behind my back. He also goes on to say, manga that is, if you go abroad, the problem isn't a battle at all, like if you don't go abroad. It's from a Google translation, excuse me, but basically he's saying that if you're trying to sell a manga in Japan, then political correctness is not an issue. Not at all. And that's true. But if you were to try and make a politically correct manga specifically to appeal to the Western audience, he doesn't think it will sell. Because of course you need to make it first at home before you can even try to go abroad with this. And why would anybody want to read a manga that isn't a manga, basically? Like, for better or worse, ginormo titties and eyes are a part of manga. It is the art style of manga. If you suddenly drop that, okay, you've dropped what makes you popular. Now what? Well, I'm going to be politically correct. Oh, good luck.
Yeah, you just become the same. That's the thing about political correctness. Everything becomes androgynous in the sense that it's all just gray. Like, it has no color to it, and there's no individuality behind it. There's nothing that drives it beyond the fact that it's like, it doesn't tiptoe on anything, it doesn't say anything too mean or insensitive, it just sort of exists and it's super bland. Like, that's not very interesting, is it? You don't want to buy something that's just like the same like that. It's like, oh, and they fought these one group of people, but they were no different. They were actually just misunderstood. It was a misunderstanding. Hey, that's not very interesting now, is it? You don't like buying stuff like that. Nobody likes buying boring stories where everything's just the fucking same. Everybody wants to see something new, something different. And when you introduce political correctness, everything just becomes the same. Everything becomes this same grade, washed out drone about, like, everything's like gotta be all correct. The character designs have to be all well clothed. They can't be different. They can't be showing too much skin because that would be sexist. That's ridiculous.
But that comes from a creator of a highly sexist game, though. I have seen your artwork, you little.
I have yet to be branded by any fucking buddy. That's a little bit annoying.
You're too small. Don't worry. I'll make it happen.
The only SJW that said anything to me was like, "You'll never succeed." And that's just the normal one. Like, that's like, okay, that's not very creative. Like, I can't put that up on the wall or anything. Like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Don't worry. I mean, you already had like a PC Gamer article written on you where you were mentioned as my property, so I'm sure
nothing even about the game.
The game's just like, Arch and his property. We're speaking on a topic.
Like, I do like how they fucking believe in slavery over there. Oh, that's weird. But his property, his thing. Like, okay, rude, but all right.
The creators also mentioned something a little uplifting, namely that the whole PC thing is not a guaranteed. It's not an absolute. It's been only about 5 years or so when this shit has really been kicking into gear, and who knows, in another 5 years, will it be as bad? Or maybe we are actually seeing the turning of it. And the beauty of the Japanese is they are just continuing to make the exact same raunchy shit as they always have. They're not being affected at it. And looking at the sales of manga skyrocket, whilst those of woke comics plummet, maybe they're right. Maybe they will finally realize that, okay, yeah, no, this isn't popular. Maybe we'll see anti-woke Batman. Wouldn't that be hilarious?
That'd be cute. Just beats the crap on SJW. I mean, that's not really Batman's character. That would still be a character break.
Oh, I don't know. Like Harley Quinn, the Joker co-opts the wokeist movement. I could see that. I could totally see that.
Oh my god, that would be funny. That would be the ultimate joke, too.
It would. It would be a great joke. It would be fantastic. And then Batman can kick the shit out of them, and everyone can be like, yes. And then they clapped. And then they all clapped.